Is this radical socialism sneaking into American capitalism? Or is employee ownership actually the most logical evolution of free market principles? Today, we're going to shatter some deeply held myths about who gets to own businesses and why. The story you've been told about employee ownership might be completely wrong. For decades, employee ownership has been painted with the same brush as failed socialist experiments. Critics dismiss it as idealistic, impractical, or downright un-American. But here's what they don't want you to know. Some of the most successful, profitable, and decidedly capitalist companies in America are employee-owned. We're talking about businesses that have thrived for generations, weathered economic storms, and created more wealth for their workers than traditional corporate structures ever could. So where did these myths come from, and why do they persist? Let's start with the numbers, because capitalism speaks in dollars and cents. When business owners begin their business succession planning, they're typically presented with a narrow menu of options: sell to a competitor, find a private buyer, or pass it to family members. Employee ownership rarely makes the list. Why? Because there's less money to be made by the middlemen. Investment bankers, business brokers, and acquisition firms profit handsomely from traditional sales. Employee stock ownership plans and worker cooperatives don't generate the same fees. Follow the money, and you'll understand why employee ownership gets buried in the conversation about exit strategies. But the success stories keep piling up, and they're getting harder to ignore. Take public supermarkets, a grocery chain with over 200,000 employee owners and billions in annual revenue. Or consider King Arthur Baking Company. Employee-owned since 1996 and more profitable than ever. These aren't communes or socialist experiments. They're ruthlessly efficient businesses that happen to share ownership with their workforce. The results speak for themselves: higher productivity, lower turnover, greater innovation, and yes, more profit. When employees have skin in the game, they work differently. They think like owners because they are owners. One of the biggest myths about employee ownership centers on decision-making. Critics claim that democratic workplaces are chaotic, that too many voices slow down critical business decisions. But cooperative business models don't mean every decision gets put to a company-wide vote. Most employee-owned businesses operate with professional management and clear hierarchies, just like traditional companies. The difference is accountability. When managers answer to employee owners instead of distant shareholders, they make different choices. They prioritize long-term sustainability over quarterly profits. They invest in training and equipment rather than cutting costs to boost short-term returns. Here's where business transition gets interesting. Traditional business sales often gut companies for parts. New owners eliminate jobs, slash benefits, or relocate operations to cheaper markets. Employee ownership preserves the business legacy that founders spent decades building. Workers keep their jobs. Communities retain their economic anchors. The business continues serving customers instead of being absorbed into a corporate portfolio. For business owners concerned about their legacy, employee ownership offers something money can't buy: the assurance that their life's work will continue thriving in familiar hands. But what about capital? Surely employees can't afford to buy entire businesses. This is where the myths get really thick. Employee ownership doesn't require workers to empty their savings accounts. Employee stock ownership plans are often financed through business loans that get repaid from company profits. Worker cooperatives can be structured with gradual buy-ins over time. The business itself generates the capital for the ownership transition. It's not charity or wealth redistribution. It's a different way of structuring ownership that aligns incentives between workers and business success. Innovation thrives in employee-owned companies for a simple reason. The people closest to the work have the strongest incentive to improve it. When factory workers own stock, they suggest efficiency improvements. When customer service representatives have equity, they develop better processes. Traditional companies spend millions on consultant reports and management retreats trying to capture this kind of frontline insight. Employee-owned businesses get it for free because their workers are invested in the outcome. The result is continuous innovation driven by practical experience rather than theoretical frameworks. Economic downturns reveal the true strength of employee ownership. When recession hits, traditional companies lay off workers to protect shareholder profits. Employee-owned businesses take a different approach. Workers accept temporary pay cuts to preserve jobs. They find creative solutions to maintain operations. They weather storms that would sink conventionally owned competitors. This isn't socialism. It's enlightened capitalism that recognizes human capital as the most valuable asset any business possesses. For aging business owners, employee ownership solves a critical problem that traditional exit strategies ignore. Retirement planning for business owners typically involves selling to the highest bidder and walking away. But what if you've spent 30 years building relationships with employees and customers? What if your business is woven into the fabric of your community? Employee ownership allows founders to transition gradually, mentoring the next generation of owner-managers while ensuring business continuity. It's not just a financial transaction. It's a legacy preservation strategy. So let's bust these myths once and for all. Employee ownership isn't socialism with a tie. It's capitalism with a conscience. It doesn't sacrifice efficiency for equality. It achieves both by aligning interests. It doesn't eliminate hierarchy. It makes hierarchy accountable. It doesn't redistribute wealth. It creates wealth through shared ownership of productive assets. The most successful employee-owned companies prove that democratic ownership and business success aren't mutually exclusive. They're mutually reinforcing. Takeaway number 1. Employee ownership succeeds because it aligns worker incentives with business success, creating more productive and innovative companies than traditional ownership structures. Takeaway number 2. Business succession planning should include employee ownership as a viable option that preserves company culture and community impact, while providing financial returns to retiring owners. Takeaway number 3. The myths about employee ownership persist because they serve the interests of intermediaries who profit from traditional business sales, not because they reflect economic reality. What part of employee ownership do you want us to unpack next? Drop your ideas in the comments. We might turn them into a future video. And if you want to keep learning, make sure to hit subscribe.